the past, we talk about her as if she's still with us. And I think that ties in so deeply with the word legacy, the legacy that she's left, that we reflect on today, that we pay tribute to today as a mom and as a sister and as a as an ex-colleague, Mike. That's the one reason why we're here, to reflect on Colleen's life. But the second reason we're here today is I look at this family in front here, Dominique and her cousins. There's so much we wish we could do for them. You know, there's a piece of the puzzle that's not there anymore, it's missing. And we've come today to pay tribute and to give them a hug. And I've heard Ilona outside so many times, thank you for coming. Give somebody a hug. Thank you for coming. Give somebody a hug. But whatever we try and do for them is not enough. There's only so many WhatsApps we can send to Colleen's other sister, Val, in Canada. There's only so many meals perhaps that we can make. Only so many bowls of dog food or something small that we can give, but it's not enough. And so I want to ask that you with me this afternoon would pray for them sitting in front of us here, that what we cannot do for Ilona and for Karen and for Trent and Declan, that see a family's piece of the puzzle with Colleen's life, her legacy, not here anymore. For Ilona, a daughter. For Karen, for Val in Canada, for Declan and Trent. God, would you give them strength that only you can give them? Sometimes words seem so shallow. What do we say to Ilona? What do we say to Trent and Declan and to Karen? We don't have words, God. So we bring them before you today, our Heavenly Father, and trust that you will do for them what only you can do today. Tomorrow, December, Christmas time, next year. I pray, God, that you would put your arms around them and give them the strength. And sometimes the world doesn't understand that word peace, that only you can give them in the midst of this turmoil that they're going through. And I pray, God, that you would speak to each one of us here today as we've taken time to reflect on a legacy that lives on, as Joanne says. In Jesus' name, amen. Friends, today is a somewhat of a different service. I'd like to say that today is somewhat of a celebration service of your mom. A lot of people here, a lot of friends. It's certainly different. I mean, the dogs. And I want today to be in honor of Colleen. It's not an opportunity for me to preach for an hour. It's an opportunity for us to share stories about your mom's life, about your grand's life. And so the more stories we share of Colleen, the richer you and I will be as we leave here today. I have one or two stories of Colleen and the interaction I had with her over the years, many, many years ago, and I'm going to share those with you. But be brave today with me. Oh, I can't share. I'm going to be too emotional. Can you talk through the tears? How sad would it be if you left here in an hour's time and you had those memories and stories trapped in your heart and you didn't share them with us? I want to encourage you today. Share them, because it's going to enrich our lives, and that legacy then will continue through us. Joanne, you mentioned so many things to me before you sat down. You introduced me to Mark. You introduced me to Mike. Neville, a supplier. Hey, but wonderful to have you here today. Why are you here today, Neville? What one story do you have close to your heart of Colleen? Just where you are. Just stand there and just share with us, bud.
So myself and Colleen, we used to work together at Armco Superlight. She was the procurement manager there, and I was in sales, very young, naughty back then. So I went to Avenge, and I went to go see the civil engineering department, the procurement department, and I was walking in the corridor, and I bumped into Colleen, and she said, "What are you doing here?" So I said, "I've come to see if I can get some business here." So she said, "Well, I'm part of the
Joanne, she doesn't want to speak. That's okay. But let me tell you about Gaynor. Gaynor is a lady that used to work with Colleen. They told me that Colleen shoot straight from the hip. You agree with that, eh? Is that right? But they tell me about Joanne and Gaynor, who understood Colleen. They tell me about you, Joanne, and Gaynor, who were so close to her all those years working. You said we had each other's backs, eh? Yeah. You told me a story about, you used to have conflict and handle stuff at the office, but the minute somebody went after, what was that? What did you say about?
I said that our building business unit was a family, and we could fight with each other, but nobody else could. And yeah, Colleen and I were friends then, and we became incredibly close after we both left the company, and we became more like sisters than like friends. So it was a friendship that grew beautifully, and all thanks to one company that brought us all together.
Yeah, I was just saying to my wife, as a management team, sometimes you don't always make the right decisions, and then there are times where you do make the right decisions. And employing Colleen was one of those right decisions. It was a good call. She was a lady with ethics. She a hard worker. She was my right-hand lady. And when I think back today, in a work environment, you don't always get the opportunity to really sit down and thank people for their hard work and what they've done for the company and oneself. And hence, that's why I'm here today, to pay honor to Colleen. I think she's a wonderful person, a very proud granny, always spoke highly of her grandchildren, their achievements, their sporting achievements. She's just a fantastic person, and we're going to miss her definitely.
For that, you hear the impact.
And I think we learned to trust each other. The other big connection was like sitting in front of me, straight to the side. It was the dogs, because I'd taken my dog to a dog school and having endless problems with him. And it was always good to bounce off ideas and just to chat about dogs and dog training and dog school in general. If I recall correctly, Colleen was taking dogs into hospitals as, I don't know what the correct term is, care dogs, therapy dogs, that's the word. Something that somebody suggested to me at one stage, but with my dog now. But yeah, it was always great chatting with Colleen, yeah. Lovely person, really lovely person.
You boys sitting at the back, the sports stars from St. Dunstan's. Are you from different schools, eh? All the way back from primary school. I've done many funerals, but I've yet to come across friends that come and support their friends, Declan and Trent, for their gran. It's quite amazing. So I honor you boys today. Somehow, it feels to me like Colleen had an impact on your lives sitting at the back. You're nodding, bud. Yeah. You've got a story. Think about it. No pressure. Nothing for now. Karen, would you come up here? Feels like I know your family. Feels like I know Michelle and Ashley. I don't know why, but today you have we have you in our hearts today, Karen, as a sibling of Colleen, and Karen saying, I've written this out, I've typed this out, I haven't read it again, and I'm saying, would you speak from your heart? Tell us some stories about your sister. Enrich our lives as we sit and reflect on a legacy. Is that okay? Why don't you come and stand here with your mom, or with your gran, eh? Come stand.
I really don't know. So growing up, we are 4 children. Colleen was the eldest, my sister Val, who's in Canada, my brother, and I'm the youngest. So when we were growing up, I was paired up with Colleen, and my sister and my sister Val and my brother, they were paired up together. Because you know, siblings have to look after siblings. So the best memories that I can remember from our days long, long time ago, I don't even think I was in school yet, was me always taking my pram with my dolls, with the cats, with everything in there, and going to go and visit Colleen in her bedroom. Then we used to sit down and I used to tell her all these stories about how I've divorced my husband and I've got a new one and all my children I had, and she always just played with me. It was one of, I was so excited when I was told she was a girl. But yeah, Colleen was a difficult person. We won't deny that. But we were brought up quite strict in that, and you know, we care for humanity, for the animals, for everything, and let's face it, that was her biggest passion, was the animals. I mean, you could kick somebody out on the street, but don't you dare put a dog or a cat out there. Then you were in trouble. But yeah, that's just the type of person she was, always looking out for everyone, very close to us, always giving advice on where she could. Yeah, I don't know where my sister is. Val is watching. I hope she is. And I love them both so, so much. And I'm going to miss my sister very, very much. And thank you all so much for coming. Thank you.
Before you go, I was chatting to Ilona and she was telling me about the role that you played in your sister's life. She says to me she was a sister, and it was something along the lines of, you have been incredible. And so I challenge us today, if we've got siblings, far and wide, Canada or straight in Benoni, that we would take a page out of your book today. We honor you today, Carrie. Can we give her a hand? Is that all right? Thank you for sharing. I'm going to ask if there's anybody else that would like to share. You don't have to come and stand up. You can just sit where you are. A story, a memory. Oh, thank you, ma'am.
I've known, I said, wow, this turkey is magnificent. She spent the whole night. Whatever she did really, really well. It wasn't a case of just throwing the turkey in and hoping the next morning. She nursed it the whole night. She kept putting stuff in it. Okay. The other thing I remember with her is after Jackelberg, I think she was put off of men. Seriously, Jack Hesselberg was, I love Jack. So I'm still here for him. Although, yes, we've all got our stories, and yes, and Colleen and I would just smile and disagree. But anyway, and bless him. But she would, I don't know why you're interested in looking for a husband, Sharon. You know, I've got Hansie. That's it. And all she needed was Hansie, her Hansie. And I said, but what? But don't you say a word about Hansie. And it didn't matter what Hansie had done. And guess where she is now? I'm telling you, she's sitting holding Hansi's hand. Trust me. Okay. You know, I was a supplier, even though I was a friend and I had worked, and she knew a lot about printing. You couldn't pull any wool over her eyes. I dealt with her at Armco and with Winnica, and there was many a day I was scared. Trust me, I knew my prices had to be right. I knew that if she wanted it, then it had to be then. There was no, and I used to breathe and say, thank you, Jesus. And honestly, that twinkle in her eye, then I knew, okay, that's Colleen back again.
Brilliant.
And that's what I remember. The other last thing I just want to tell you, which Colleen looked after her body. She looked like she was 50. She really was absolutely beautiful in the way she looked after herself. And one day I said, Colleen, I've really got to lose weight. You asked Colleen for advice, she gave it to you. Straight down the line, she gave it to you. And you know what? If you didn't want the advice, you shouldn't have asked. Okay? And bless her. And she said to me, she's on a lettuce diet. I said, okay, tell me more. She said, well, what do you want to know? I'm on a lettuce diet. I said, okay, what do you add to the lettuce? She said, Sharon, I'm on a lettuce diet. And that's what. So bless her.
Thank you.
May she be happy with Hansi.
What a joy. Can we give her a hand, Dominique? Those are the stories that we are enriched having listened to today. Thank you, Sharon. We need a lot more people working in corporate companies like that, straight down the line.
And I'm short, so I'll come to the front.
Oh. Did you know about this?
Is this all fine? As I say, the only thing is I did forget my glasses today. But as you can see, there's pages in front of me, but I am Irish, so I'll read pretty fast. Okay. I want to tell you about Colleen and Shayna. All right? The combination was Colleen and Shayna. Gosh, and where does one start? But I suppose at the beginning. One of our pause handlers happened to mention that there's somebody who's interested in becoming a handler and having her dog assessed for Pause for You, which in fact stands for People and Wonderful Souls for You. All right? Anyway, handler and dog were met, the process was followed, and an assessment was passed by both handler and dog. At the end of that, there's 6 supervised visits, and Shayna received her bandana, which is around the dog's collar's necks, you can see. So the journey began. That is so special, magical, and giving, and made such an enormous difference in the lives of so many people the therapy dogs interacted with, and also with the handlers. Everyone taking away something with them from their visits. And in many cases, the handlers say similar things about their respective visits. But there are also moments, instances, and special treasured memories that are unique to a handler and their dog. Could be a smile that comes to someone being visited, which starts on their lip, goes to their eyes, and into their heart. These moments are treasures. And in that moment, as a handler, you understand the difference you can do and make to someone's day. Sometimes a handler, in a moment, you are superficialist to the requirements. The person you are visiting only has eyes for your dog, and the interaction you witness when you see the piece that comes over someone as they stroke the dog's head, their ears, the hand that travels softly down the back of the dog, back up to its head, and all the way back down again, and the tail returns wagging. All right? This is part of the magic of a therapy dog and a handler team. Colleen attended visits where such moments were experienced, as well as times when she had to be a chatty patty. That was the strength of Colleen's. She could chat away with the best of them. All right? Page 2. Don't worry, I'll get there. Colleen was relaxed and loved, Shayna was relaxed and loved being stroked and meeting people. Her only requirement was not to give her a kiss. She did not like anyone to come close to her face, and that was something that has to be respected. Our dogs all have different likes and dislikes, and if anyone approaching Shayna was looked as if they were wanting to give her a kiss, Colleen busy speaking to someone at that moment, she would put her hand out and back the person, all right? Smile over Shayna's head at the person who just approached, look back at the person who she was originally chatting to, and make sure both were included in the moment. At the first possible opportunity, she would start chatting with the new visitor, and during that chat would mention the work the therapy dogs would do, while at the same time, as with all of us, include the things our dogs loved and the things our dogs didn't love. Shayna didn't like the kisses, but loved being stroked and getting treats, and a sentence uttered more than once, so to ensure everyone had a super interaction. Shayna would lie quietly at a visit for extended periods. We take Uncle Tim's awareness days as an example. And when she did move, somebody would say, "Gosh, is that a real dog?" Many a laugh has been shared at that. With Shayna being a perfect lapdog size, visits where people were confined to a bed or a wheelchair so suited her. So she could be placed on her special visit towel or blanket on the bed or a person's lap and weave her magic. Colleen had firm opinions on things and on people. And if you observed carefully at a visit, if she was not keen on someone or something, you could see it in Shayna not being as laid back as usual. Nothing major, just less laid back. At times like this, you could put to work your training and introduce a subject change. Draw attention away from the team of handler and dog and give them the space to adjust. These special souls weave their magic in so many ways. Colleen loved her family. We all did. She spoke often about watching cricket when her family or friends were playing. Her love for her girl Shayna, as well as other animals that made up her family, an extended family of people and pets, shone out of her. The spot on the table facing the bottled relish man stall at Uncle Tim's awareness days will always, in our hearts and minds, have Shayna on her blanket, doing her laid-back thing, and Colleen standing behind her, ready to interact and share the magic and joy that a therapy dog and handler can and do bring to others. Rest softly, gently, peacefully, Colleen. That's from our pause. We have two handlers who asked me to read a few lines from them. This one's from Dawn. She says, and believe it or not, I'm doing this without glasses. Let me see it. Anyway, okay. Dawn wrote, I first met Colleen when she came to dog school as a support for her son-in-law, David. All right? David, because he had adopted a border collie and wanted to train her. Colleen was carrying a very tiny little Shayna in her arms, and the first thing Roger said to her was, "Your dog has legs, you know." well, the look from Colleen, and I think we're all aware of the look. And I thought, here goes, she's never coming back. Little did I realize that the passion Colleen had for animals, especially dogs and cats. Later on, Colleen, I found out about Paws, and her and Shayna went on to become a very dedicated. And that's a word I want you to keep in mind, dedicated. And I think that's it. When Colleen put her mind to something and her heart and her soul, dedicated was the person that she was. She was always calm around everyone, took great delight in showing people what Shayna could do, thereby encouraging others to do the same. She took great delight in training the puppies. Colleen was a very private person, yet added a lot of value to both paws and dog training in general. This makes me smile. There was no grey areas with Colleen. You knew exactly where you stood with her. Everywhere she went, little Shayna would go with, and everyone who knew Colleen and Shayna were. At Uncle Tim's, Shayna was the star of the show on the table, as she used to lie there like a toy dog, basking in the sun and at times, and loved all the attention she received. Colleen was always very forthcoming with info about Paws and encouraged passerbys to donate to the hamper that was up for grabs. If you stroke my dog, you need to make a donation. Anyway, Colleen, we will miss you. We will miss your quirks, your side glances at times, your presence, and of course your contribution to life in general. Rest softly, Colleen, till we meet again. And I have one more, please. All right. Okay. This came from Linda.